Now, when I did this sermon, wrote this sermon, of course, sermons should be applicable to the one who's proclaiming it.
Right.
And this one was a tough one. And you'll see when we get ready to get into it what I mean. But anytime you're talking about how you change your own life,
amen, amen, amen.
It's tough, to look at yourself before you talk to other people.
Amen. Right, amen. Amen.
Sometimes we think we got it going on, we think we got it right. But we find out, nope, that's not the case.
Amen.
And that's what we're going to find out in this lesson, in this sermon today. So, if we can, let's stand. And we're going to be in Matthew chapter 8, verses 23 through 27. Matthew chapter 8, verses 23 through 27. I think we have it on the screen also. Okay? When you're there, just say amen.
Amen.
All right, here we go. Then he got into the boat, and the disciples followed him. Suddenly a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, Lord, save us. We're going to drown. He replied in verse 26, You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Then he got up, rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. Verse 27, the men were amazed and asked, What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him.
Amen.
Our subject today is faith conquers fear.
Amen.
Faith conquers fear.
Amen.
You may be seated. The overcoming of fear. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Amen.
The gospel, Jesus, and the church, and the faith, are all one great battle cry against fear in our lives as human beings. Fear is our arch enemy itself.
Amen.
It crouches in people's hearts and hollows out their insides until their resistance and their strength are spent and they suddenly break down. Fear secretly gnaws and eats away at all the ties that bind a person to God and to others. And when in a time of need that person reaches out, those ties and that they cling to, they break. An individual sink back into himself or herself, helpless and despairing, while hell rejoices. Now, fear leers that person in the face. Fear looks the person in the face, saying, Here we are by ourselves, you and I will show you my true face. Anyone who has seen naked fear revealed, who has been its victim in terrifying loneliness, fear of an important decision, fear of heavy stroke of fate, losing one's job, an illness, fear of vice that no longer can resist, to which one is enslaved, fear of disgrace, fear of another person, fear of dying. That person knows that fear is the only one of the faces of evil itself. One form by which the world and the enemy of God grasp for someone. Nothing can take a human being so conscious of the reality of powers opposed to God in our lives that is loneliness, this helplessness, this fog spreading over everything, this sense that there is no way out, and this raving impulse to get oneself out of this hell of hopelessness.
All right.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Psychologists tell us that we're born with two fears. That are folly, one of noise. And then we get many more after that. Interesting to know that many of the phobias that we have are mentioned in the dictionary. The dictionary is not our friend. Our age is frantic with fear. Members of the psychology class asked 500 people, what are you afraid of? Those 500 people came back with 7,000 fears. 7,000 fears. 500 people. But it need not be that way. For Christ came to deliver us from our fears. Okay? Have you ever seen somebody gripped with fear? Dreadful in a child, even worse in an adult. Those staring eyes, shivering like an animal, the pleading attempt to defend oneself. Fear takes away a person's humanity. This is not the creature God made us. This person belongs to the devil. This enslaved, broken down, sick creature. But the human being doesn't have to be afraid. We should not be afraid. This is what makes humans different from all other creatures. In the midst of every situation where there is no way out, where nothing is clear, where it is our fault, we know that there is hope. There is hope called Thy will be done. Yes, Thy will is being done. Amen. This world must fall. God stands above all. Yeah. His thoughts unswayed, His words unstayed, His will forever our ground and hope. Yeah. But do you ask yourself, how do you know? Okay? So let's say that a ship on the high sea, having a fierce struggle with the waves. Storm winds blowing harder by the minute, the boat is small, tossed like a toy, sky's dark, sailor's strength is failing. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been in these storms. And you can put your mind's eye being in the boat. Okay? And the deal is one of them is gripped by what? Fear. But it's not going to tell itself that. Okay? But someone in the boat who wasn't there before, someone comes close to him and lays cold hands on his arms and pulls wildly on his oar. He feels his muscles freeze. He feels the strength go out of him. Okay? Then the unknown one reaches out into his heart, his mind, and magically brings forth the strangest pictures. He sees his family, his children cry. What will become of them if I am no more? Then he seems to be back where he once was, following his evil ways, in long years of bondage to evil. And he sees the face of his companions in that bondage. He sees a neighbor whom he wounded only yesterday with an angry word. Suddenly, he can no longer see or hear anything, can no longer row. A wave overwhelms him, and in final desperation, he shrieks. Stranger in this boat, who are you? And the other answers, I am fear. Now the cry goes up from the whole crew. Fear is in the boat. All arms are frozen and drop their oars. All hope is lost. Fear is in the boat. Now, I don't know about you, but when you think back in your own life, maybe where you're at right now, you got some fear happening. Might not be waves of water, but you might be in a storm now, and you're dealing with this other being, this other spirit called fear. And the thing about fear is it freezes people from doing things, from being things, from acting on things. I've lived it. I don't know if anybody out there has done it, but I have. Then as if the heavens open, as if the heavenly hosts themselves raise a shout of victory in the midst of hopelessness, Christ is in the boat. Christ is in the boat, and no sooner has the call gone out, been heard, that fear shrinks back, and the waves subside. The sea becomes calm, and the boat rests in its quiet surface. Christ was in the boat. We're along on that voyage, aren't we? And the call, Christ is in the boat, was once our salvation too. And now, strangely enough, all of us are at sea again. on that voyage without faith, without hope, overwhelmed, in chains, in bondage, paralyzed by fear. We have lost heart, lost the joy of living. Our limbs heavy as lead. Each of us knows what it's like. Perhaps, or most likely, we don't even quite realize what has happened to us. We're already so used to the state of affairs that it seems natural to us. And we're almost like it that way. We almost like it that way. All this misery around us in our own lives. Amen. What would we do if we couldn't even complain anymore? Some of us have gotten used to being in so much fear that we've made it our normal lives. And the thing about being a Christian is, how can that be? When we have Jesus, we have the Holy Spirit in our heart, living a life of fear. What does that look like? That's when people in their own neighborhood are scared to go outside. Can't let my kid go out by themselves anymore. I'm scared to go to work because they might give me a pink slip. Scared to talk to my husband or wife because they might chew me out. Scared to talk to my kid because they might talk about me. Can't call my friends because they might talk about me. And this is how we live life every day. And there's no Christ in that. So, let's get to my first point. First point. The Bible speaks of two kinds of fear. There's that fear that is commanded. That fear involves respect, honor, reverence, and a sense of awe of God. Right. Now, you may remember what that's like, but many Christians don't fear God. He ain't going to do anything to me. I'm going to live the life I want to live, do the things I want to do. God's not going to do anything. But the Bible says that we are to fear God. What is that fear? The word reverence is the fear we're talking about. Reverence of God. In your Bible, for those taking notes, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. Acts chapter 9, verse 31. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7 talks about having a fear of God. What does it do for you? Leads you to holiness. 2 Corinthians 7:1. Working out your own salvation. You do work out your salvation even though you got it. Philippians chapter 2, verse 12. Evangelism. Be able to tell others. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 11. Okay? Then there's that kind of fear that is forbidden. Forbidden for Christians. This is synonymous with dread, alarm, fright, terror, apprehension, anxiety, perplexity, and distrust. Now, I don't know about y'all. I think I've covered myself, all of them. The fear of doing work in the church causes some to stay out of the church. The fear of commitment causes some not to get into lasting relationships. The fear of love causes some not to love as God said to love. The fear of love causes people not to love as God said do it. What does that mean? That means that people love people as they see others do it or as they think it ought to be. I always say, that people in relationships, the first relationship they're in, they go through it, then it didn't go well. Then the next person that they go to a relationship, they give them 50%. Because I'm not going to give you my 100%. I don't think anybody deserves that. Go to another relationship, they get 25%. I'm not going to give you even the 50%. And they say, that's love. And you wonder why people break up all the time. This kind of fear is forbidden. Psalms 91, verse 5. Luke chapter 12, verse 32. This type of fear is not to be confused with with caution. Fear of being run over will cause one to look both ways across the street. That's caution. Okay? Fear is a serious disease that will cause one to take a back seat. Okay? That's caution. That's normal, and that's good. That's not the fear that we're talking about. Now, for those of you that think that this doesn't happen in the Bible, let me give you some examples. Noah, appeared in the ark. Abraham offered his son up to Isaac. Jacob, in the vision of the ladder and the covenant of God. Job, according to the testimony of Satan. David. Hezekiah, in his treatment of the prophet Micah. Jonah, during the storm. And there are so many more in the Bible who demonstrated fear. But the thing is when you read about these people in the Bible, what you see is that they recognize that they should not have had that fear, that God has always saw them through. Amen. And even in your own lives, you know that God sees you through. You wouldn't be sitting here if God didn't see you through. Amen. But many of us take it for granted. And when we think about certain things that happen to people, you can't take things for granted when you talk about being a Christian. I was reading just the other day, some kids were playing by a pond, and a 10-year-old was snatched by an alligator that wasn't supposed to be in the pond. And the alligator killed the kid. Now, you wouldn't think or have any thought process that could happen. Taking things for granted, this kid is dead. This happens all the time. And the thing is, don't take for granted the blessing that God has given you. Whether it be kids, whether it be job, whether it be houses, whether it be cars, whether it be breath. My own daughter, just this Friday, had cancer surgery. Removed 50% of her lung to remove the cancer. You can't take for granted your own health. Amen. Go get checked out. Point 2. Areas where fear operates. Areas where fear operates. Men and women fear failure. Right. This is the big one. Fear of failure caused the one talent man to do nothing. That's right. Our Lord has promised us inevitable and assured success in the things that are really important. People fear doing something because they may fail. But failure in and of itself is an opportunity to succeed. That's right. Amen. You have to change your mindset to the way God sees things rather than how you see things or the way man sees things. Amen. Failure is an opportunity to succeed. Right. You got to fail before you succeed. Amen. Okay? It's our duty to do the best we can and leave results in the hands of God. Right. Don't leave the results in the hands of you or somebody else. Leave it in the hands of God. Right. God is the one who makes things happen. God is in control. This is the thing that we learned from Job. Amen. Job had to learn God was in control. So if you read the Bible, the deal is you are not in control. Right. Stop trying to be in control. Amen. Okay? Man fears the unknown future. This fear has kept many a congregation of the Lord from growing, expanding, building buildings, adding missionaries, and otherwise doing more work for Christ. Right. Many a congregation has feared growing because they can't predict the future. Amen. You realize that it is vision and excitement that keeps people and congregations active, vibrant, and growing. If you are in the church, then look for something to do. Amen. It's your church. And the deal is we shouldn't be just sitting in the pews, listening to pastors and ministers speak. The deal is what can I be doing to help the church grow? Amen. whether you're old, like myself, or young. We need to be doing things and not have the fear of not knowing what will happen if I get involved. Just be involved. Men and women fear responsibility. Because the one talent man, he did not assume his responsibility. He was supposed to do something with that one talent. Fear, Israel shirked their responsibility in conquering the land.
Amen.
God said, go in the land, go do this, go do that. They did half of it, didn't do the rest. Right. Caused their own problem. Amen. Fear will keep us from our responsibility of being fishers of men. We're supposed to go out there and lead people to Christ. Right. But a lot of folks are scared to do that because they don't want to knock on the door. Y'all, we talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons real bad. But when it comes to our turn, I don't see any of us out there knocking on the door. Scared to knock on the door. I've knocked on the door. And the thing is when you knock on the door, you're going to get some. Don't knock on my door no more. That's okay.
Amen.
We're just looking for one.
Amen.
Lead one to Christ.
Amen.
Men and women fear old age. The Bible teaches us that honor and glory are attached to old age. This is Leviticus 19:32 and Proverbs 16:31. And it says simply, the greatest accomplishments in life have been accomplished by the elderly. Right. Webster, who wrote the Webster Dictionary, he wrote that thing when he was 70. Moses was 80 when he led the people out of bondage in Egypt. Old age is not an indication that one is, nearer to his home, which is heaven. The deal is while you can still think, do. Amen. If you're young, you really should be doing. Amen. Okay? And the thing is the older, who's supposed to have more wisdom, should be teaching the younger. Amen. Men and women fear insecurity. Insecurity. Jesus went to great lengths teaching man should not live by such fears. That's Matthew chapter 6, 24 to 34. God has always provided for his own and will continue to do so. That's in your Bible. Psalm 37, 35. Philippians 4, 19. The deal about insecurity, why are you insecure? Because the world has taught you to be insecure. God never taught you to be insecure. God said that you can do all things in him. He created you in his own image. So how in the world can you be insecure and not do things? What? Because somebody told you couldn't? The thing is if all of you wanted to be the president of the United States, which we need somebody else doing that. The deal is you can be that. All you got to do is trust God to get there. Amen. But if you're not trusting God to take you somewhere, then how do you plan on getting there? Anything you put your mind to, God said you can do. All things are possible through him. Amen. God fears what other men will say and think about them or do to them. Men and women fear what other men and women got to say or do. But God says, I'm in control, not man. Obviously, y'all forgot about the story about Pharaoh. Pharaoh was not the one who sit there and made the decision. God made the decision for Pharaoh. Okay? And the thing is the children of Israel had to learn that God was in control, so he sent the plagues. He also had to teach Moses that God was in control. Because y'all realize Moses didn't know all that much about God. But y'all knew a lot about God. And the thing is why do you care what the person next to you has to say about you and your abilities? Why do you care what the person at the workplace got to say about what you can and can't do? Why do you care about what the boss got to say? The boss did not create you. You got to trust God that he will take you where you need to be. Fear of causing one to do wrong. You ever had that fear? I'm going to mess somebody up. If I tell somebody something, I'm going to mess them up. Because of this fear, Peter denied the Lord. Fear caused Peter to be guilty of hypocrisy. Fear oftentimes keeps one from taking a stand for the truth. You ever been in a situation where, y'all at the water cooler, somebody say, yeah, the boss been treated bad, somebody ought to say something. And then, there's one that says something, and then you're the one that the person turns to and say, is it true? And then you look the other way. I know you're not talking to me, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk the truth. But as a Christian, you can't be that way. And the reason why we have the situation we have now is Christians won't speak up.
Amen.
Scared to talk. Scared to take a stand. But the thing is we live in our houses and we cook our food, take care of our kids, go to work, won't take a stand. Won't do anything. We talk about it, but we won't do anything. This is why you hear this stuff about voting. We don't go out and vote. We say, what? We're not going to make a difference. You got to go out and do things. Men and women fear death. Men are slaves to the fear of death. That's Hebrews chapter 2, verse 15. Y'all didn't think that was in the Bible, did you? The fear of death can be removed when men realize it is inevitable. You're going to die. So stop worrying about it. Now, some of us sit there saying, I got other things to do. I can't die yet. It is the gateway to bliss and association with Jesus. It's amazing how folks don't want to die and go to Jesus. They want to live on this earth that's destined to die. Jesus will be there to take us by the hand when we die. And the thing is we never talk about it. We never have discussions about it. We just sit there and say, ooh, it's out there. I hope it doesn't catch me right now. Fear of dying. The Bible says you don't know the time nor the day. And as sad as it is, our brother Tanner has to deal with a child that has passed on to glory. 29 years old. And the thing is you don't know the how and the why of death. The deal is death is there. Death is going to happen, and we don't have control. Stop trying to control it. You can't live your life being afraid to die. What happens when we have, the tragic effects of fear? Point 3. Fear makes life a wretched experience. Warps our personality. You saw this in Saul's life in 1 Samuel 28. Fear is a dark room that the gates are developing. It's like living but not living. You don't live in the excitement of being able to tell the good news of Jesus. You live in a dark room with the curtains closed. Many people live their life with the dark curtains closed. I don't want anybody to see in. I don't want to see out. I just want to keep the world out. But that's not living. That's not the life that God had for you. It prevents you from doing the will of God. Men make excuses. Like the case of Moses. I stuttered. I killed somebody. You can't use me. And people, we have done so much wrong, but God still uses us. If you call yourself Christian, God basically said, you're going to tell the good news of Jesus where you are. So why are you afraid to get out there and do things? Fear renders one useless. No place in the kingdom of God for the fearful. Because we're in a battle against Satan And we need people of courage. You got to be a person of courage to even have gotten to Christian. It takes some courage to be a Christian. It takes even more courage to transform. Y'all know what transform is all about, right? That means you got to change your life. Many of us become Christians, say, yep, I believe in Jesus. He is the Son of God, but I kind of like who I am. And other people got to like who I am. I'm not going to change. But the deal is when you put on the new creature, you were to change. You were to transform. And the more you learn about the Word of God, the more you're supposed to change. Stop telling young men about manhood. I'm telling grown men now. Stop telling about manhood. Manhood means nothing. Women, stop telling them about womanhood. Means nothing. Tell folks about Christian and what it means to be a Christian and the courage you got to have to not do as the world does. That takes some true courage. Many of our young men are in jail now because of the stupid thing called manhood. And we need to go ahead and talk about these things because people don't want to talk about it. 26 million men, black men, in jail. Worried about some manhood. Women fighting other women. Worried about some womanhood. This is not what God wanted us to deal with. And it makes us useless when we talk about courage. The courage is to be Christian. Turn the other cheek. Be meek. Be humble. Be kind. Be forgiving. Be one who is long-suffering. One who has patience. One who can forgive. One who can show godly love. You talk about some courage, that's true courage. But all the garbage that we talk about in the world, and what you hear on songs and all that, is not what God is talking about. That's world. That's what the world, the man says in the world, what women say in the world. It means nothing. You got to accept that. Fear brings on the very thing we fear. Peter's fear of sinking brought on his sinking. He's walking on the water. Many people don't realize that Jesus wasn't the only one walking on the water. Right. Peter was walking on the water. Water got all the way up to Jesus and said, you know what? I'm not supposed to be walking on the water. Started saying, thinking about the wrong thing. Disease, fear of disease brings on illness. Many people sit there, they bring on their own problems because they sit there and go like, oh, I gotta have a disease. Research has shown that 85% of the emotional and physical ills of men are brought on by fear. 85%. 85%. Fear will cause a person to be lost. There are Christians, because of their fear, turn away from God. Because of their fear, turn away from God. And you ask yourself, how can that be? Listening to people like yourself. Point 4. I had to have 4 points because, senior pastor always has 3 and I had 4. 4th point. Overcoming fear.
Amen.
Overcoming fear. Fear is strictly prohibited. You are not to have fear. Fear is a characteristic of the wicked. Proverbs 28, verse 1. Fear not, be not afraid, appear in the Bible 180 times.
Amen.
What you got to do? You got to put Christ first.
Amen.
Not you, not mom and daddy. You got to put Christ first.
Amen.
Peter said that in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 14. Then he tells us how it's supposed to be done in verse 15. Right. Put your faith and trust in God. How can you say faith is the foe of fear. The more faith you have, fear can't handle it. Okay? Conceive of God as a father. He's the one telling you the truth. He's the one giving you the wisdom. He's the one saying, I got your best interest, and not man. It says, trust God, not man. There's a reason why it says that. Never lose sight of the fact that you're in the presence of God and that his help is right there. God is with you. Jesus is with you. The Holy Spirit is with you. And you just got to plug in. And don't take counsel of your fears. A lot of people sit there and say, I'm not going back to school. Too old. That's you take counsel of your own fear. But every time I sit there and look on Yahoo, there's some 95-year-old person walking across the street. We got any 95-year-old folks up here? Go. You can't use excuses, and we make our own excuses of why we can't do something. This young man playing this keyboard. You want to learn the keyboard? Do what he did. He practiced. He got with other folks. And the thing is, if you want to learn, you can. But don't sit there and say, I can't because I'm not musical. Do you understand what I'm saying? People sit there and say, I'm not musical. He said, I made you in my image, which means you can do anything. You put your mind to. You want to go to school? Back to school. You want to work? Back to work. You want to have a business? Do business. But don't say what you can't do, because God said you can do all things through him. And of course, you got to be doing some praying. You got to pray. You got to have that communion with God. You got to be reading your word. Don't have your Bible that's sitting in the pew with you now end up back in that little dusty place that you put it back when you go back home. If you're married, y'all should be talking about that word. You should be living that word. You should be sharing that word. The idea that you sit there and have the Bible, sitting right there in the corner, it doesn't make sense. There are people in the world that want a Bible and can't get one. And we can get them anywhere we want. Okay? Learn to recognize this in your own life. Learn to recognize and understand that in the hour of the storm, when you are perishing, this is the time when God is incredibly close to you, not far away. A lot of times folks think God just abandoned them. You're out on that boat by yourself. That is not true. That is a trick of the Satan, of the devil. God said what? I will never, or right now, right there, when everything else that keeps us safe is breaking and falling down, when one after another, all things of our lives depend on being taken away or destroyed, when we have to learn to give them up, all this is happening because God is coming near to us. Because God wants us to have him as our only support and certainty. Have you ever had everything taken from you and the only thing you had was to talk to God? The only thing you had was to talk to God. That's when you know what you know. And if you have that testimony, tell some other folks, let them know that when all things are gone, God will help you. God lets our life be broken and fall in every direction. Through faith, guilt, and through every failure, God brings us back. And we are thrown back because God alone. God's the one who's doing it. Man can't help you get back. God's going to help you get back. God wants to show us that when we let everything go, we lose all our own security, and we have to give it up. And when you're totally free to receive God and kept totally safe in God, that's when you know what you know. So you may understand rightly the hours of affliction and temptation, the hours in our lives when we are in the high seas. That's when you have your own storm. God is close to us then, not far away. Our God is on the cross. The cross of the sign that stands in judgment on all the false security in our lives. Restores faith in God alone. We got to have faith, and we got to trust the cross and what Jesus did for us, what God gave for us, to be able to move in this world. You can't make it in this world thinking that you got it going on. A lot of times folks say, I'm the only one that got me there. Never has that happened. God got you where you're at. And you got to trust him on every front. When the storm happens, you got to trust him then. It's always easy to trust him when things are going good. Depends on, when we make sure one last terrible misunderstanding does not arise. Such a thing as a false courage. Y'all know what false courage is? Amen. False confidence. Yeah. that is fear in disguise. Amen. Fear in disguise. So back to those disciples. You can imagine, and I want y'all to put yourselves there. Everybody getting on the boat, on the shore. It's sunny, calm seas, everything looking pretty. Everybody's confident then. Nothing to be afraid of. Right. And then the thing is, why were we confident? We saw the calm seas, nothing to worry about. Winds and the waves, were smooth. But then, get in the middle of the water. Then the waves increased with force, and the disciples lost their calm, and fear grew in them. They gazed apprehensively at the wild sea. Its appearance made them, at one point feel safe. Now, fear is gaining the upper hand. The story says that Jesus was asleep. Amen. You on the boat. Amen. You're sitting there with a bucket, throwing out water, more water coming in. Only faith can sleep without care. Yes, sir. That's why sleep is a reminder of paradise. Faith finds its safety in God alone. Yes, sir. Yes. The disciples couldn't sleep. Their security was gone. Their confidence had been replaced, and now it was lost. And in the false sense of security, it was only fear in disguise. The sense of security does not overcome fear and soon breaks down. Only the faith that leaves behind all false confidence, letting all fall and break down, can overcome fear. This is faith. When we talk about faith being that thing you can't see, when people talk about the hill, from where our help comes from, you can't see over the hill. You can't see over the hill. You don't know what the help looked like. That's faith. Amen. The idea that you need to see faith is a false confidence. That is a trick. You don't need to see it if you got faith. Amen. You don't need to worry about it if you got true faith. Amen. You just need to live in it. Yeah. And move in faith. Yeah. Normally I would do a little thing. I use you. Now, y'all can't see it, but the deal is if you take a little step. Because he can't see. He doesn't know what I'm going to do. He don't know where I'm going to take him. And the thing is, his faith says, take big steps. Bigger steps. And that's what God is saying to us. Trust me when I take you somewhere. Amen. I got you. Amen. And don't worry about where I'm going with you. Just go. Amen. Amen. Now, here's the thing, with that faith, is the deal is if Jesus is in the boat, a storm will always come up. Amen. The world tries with all its evil power to get hold of him, destroy him, along with his disciples. It hates him, rises up against him. You know this, because that happens to you, right? Amen. Anxiety and fear, but the thing is Jesus is the crucified one. There's no way in life for Christians not to be not crucified with him. So we got to suffer. the false thing is that people, when they become saved, think that life is going to get better now. Your life will get better spiritually. Amen. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to go through some things. Amen. Matter of fact, you're going to go through more things. Okay? And it says that, when we talk about Jesus, we don't need to have him hidden away like he doesn't exist. And the only time we call on him is when we have a problem. He'll take care of problems, but you need to call on him and worship him when you're, doing okay. And he will take care of the issues that you have in life if you trust him. The deal about a storm is look for the lighting on the other side of the storm, not worry about what's going on in the storm. Amen. Be with him, as he's taking you through the storm. The Bible says, he says, though I'm down in the valley, I fear no evil. Because thou art with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. How can you worry about a storm when it says that even though evil is in the place, God still got me? Amen. God still has me. They said, the disciples, what sort of man is this that even the winds and the sea obey him? What does that mean? That means that they did not know that he was God in the flesh. They did not know that he was the Messiah. They were still looking for one like David. But we don't have that excuse. We know who Jesus is. We know who God is. And the thing is that we can call on him anytime. Okay? And the deal is you got to be on your knees, asking and praying to him, pointing to him, the one who works the wonders, the one who makes the things that are impossible possible. That is God. God gave us Jesus. Don't forget. God was Jesus in the flesh. Amen. And we need to move with God. Don't move against God. And if you're in the waves, go with God. Amen. 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 Amen.